Senator Gallego.
Mr. McKenna, welcome back. And thank you, Chairman Lee and Ranking Member Heinrich. I'm glad to see that we have representation from Mr. McKenna, who used to be the Arizona State Director for BLM also. So you have a very long and rich career. I'm glad you started at the rookie state of California, moved and graduated to Arizona. So your insight will be very key as we talk about something that is at heart about local issues, public land use and planning. So Arizona has 12.1 million acres of BLM land and over 17 million subsurface acres. These lands are home to some of Arizona's most important resources, including sacred tribal sites, 45 miles of the Arizona Scenic Trail, and over 55,000 mining claims. And we'll get to some of the questions about Arizona specifically. But first, I want to point out an underlying challenge that impacts every potential use of public lands, which is staffing. We talked about that earlier. Regardless of what you would like to see BLM lands go to do or use, you need BLM staff to get it approved. And 15 to 20% of BLM staff have been fired or forced to retire since the beginning of this year, not including layoff plans that are currently on hold. So that just doesn't make sense, and I just urge the administration to reverse course. Turning to Mr. Kenna, in your testimony, you mentioned that when you were Arizona State Director, you worked on a plan called the Restoration Design Energy Project. That plan improved opportunities for renewable energy development while taking advantage of hard rock mine reclamation sites. Can you talk about how you approached the development of the plan, and how did you balance the multiple use requirements, including clean energy deployment?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, none of the states or the land use plans that were in place at the time were prepared for renewable energy when it hit. And so there was a lot of figuring it out on the fly that had to happen. That was also true in Arizona. And one of the goals is to get to something that is practical and transmission aligned for the basically public interest reasons, so that it makes sense with the grid. So there's some technical issues that sort of overlay everything that you have to do. But doing a statewide plan requires a sort of a unique mindset. And one is that you've got to be willing to go where the people are and figure out what the issues are. So the point I would emphasize again is one I made earlier is there's no substitute for the on-the-ground knowledge and the on-the-ground information when you're doing land use planning. Mm-hmm. And each plan and each area is going to be different and unique, and that was true in the Restoration Design Energy Project. The reason I mentioned the mining situation is there's a fair amount of hard rock mining in Arizona, as you know. Yeah. And when a mine is decommissioned, mines generally are big consumers of power. And so the decommissioning historically had been, reclaim the site and take out the power line. Well, if you've got an already disturbed site that's been flattened and has power access into the grid, why not take advantage of that? So that was the concept behind it.
And you kind of talked about this, which is also very important for Arizona, because we have 22 federally recognized tribes, that there is no substitute for engaging with tribes and the public and local leaders. Can you elaborate on your experience with tribal consultation and why a transparent local engagement process is important and how it improves the project stability?
It's easy to talk about it in an oversimplified way, but the way I sometimes think about it is sort of a nested process. There's a lot that has to happen in a very personal and a face-to-face kind of relationship. And so getting with tribal councils and tribal preservation officers and that really individual conversation. And then there's a second sort of tier that has to happen. As you know, you would not expect the perspectives to be exactly the same for the Tohono O'odham as they are with the Hopi or the Navajo or someone up to the north. So you have to have some way to assemble those points of view. And in Arizona, the magic of that was the Intertribal Council.
Mm-hmm. Great group. Yeah. Thank you. I yield back.
Senator Hoeven.